Maintaining a healthy skepticism towards the supernatural, including ghosts and ghouls, was a stance I upheld until the age of 28. I viewed most claims regarding such matters with skepticism, often seeing them as dubious at best and potentially harmful at worst. My mindset was deeply aligned with classical sciences, influenced by my background in physics from my studies at Edinburgh University years ago. Although my career didn't lead me back into scientific pursuits, I had always been staunchly opposed to pseudoscience and superstitions. My change in perspective during that period baffled my friends. What surprised them most was the rapidity of the shift, not a gradual transformation, but an almost overnight reversal. Although it might have seemed abrupt, the change had actually occurred over a span of about 2 weeks. It was the month of February, close to Valentine's Day. During this period, I was undergoing a phase of social isolation, which often seemed to afflict me in the harsh winters of Scotland. I would become increasingly withdrawn and bitter, a lingering neurotic tendency from my teenage years that had persisted for too long. A fortnight before, I had been strolling along the cobbled streets of Edinburgh, a practice that always brought me comfort. Walking alone, lost in thought yet still connected to the world by the fleeting interactions with strangers, was a solace I cherished. Edinburgh's historical charm, characterized by its cobbled streets and narrow lanes stemming from its volcanic origins, remained distinct. The city's courtyards, sheltered by old terraced houses, held a sense of secrecy and antiquity. However, the city's grandeur often escaped those accustomed to its beauty. Depression had been affecting my sleep, and despite finishing work early the previous evening, relaxation seemed elusive. By 6 in the morning on a Sunday, I surrendered to my inability to rest and reluctantly greeted the day. As I set out, the cold air of January stunned my face. Despite Edinburgh's reputation as a tourist destination, the city still lay relatively deserted at that early hour. A mist rose from the water of Leith, intensifying the chill as I wandered along empty pavements, lost in my thoughts and oblivious to my destination. As shops opened and tourists began to populate the cobbled streets, I purposefully sought out quieter, forgotten alleys. My wandering thoughts guided me until I stood before an old graveyard. Initially contemplating a retreat, something about this place compelled me to explore it further. The entrance gates, constructed from aged blackened steel rods, were surprisingly unlocked at that early hour. Upon entering the cemetery, a sense of isolation washed over me. The sound of gravel underfoot punctuated the stillness as I moved along a path adorned with small white stones. The graveyard was modest in size, divided into 2 sections. The older graves lay closer to the fence, bearing the scars of time. As I gazed at a weathered headstone from 1776, illegible epitaph included, I pondered its history, reflecting on both its past and my own. Eventually, I left that spot, making my way uphill toward newer graves. A large, aged sycamore tree commanded attention, casting its protective shadow over the surrounding headstones. One of these graves captured my interest, a white headstone amid black marble companions. Unconsciously, I brushed my hand against the smooth stone, its surface marked by the elements. A small vase rested near the headstone's base, unremarkable but intriguing. Standing there, a sensation of unease began to grow within me. Initially elusive, it eventually crystallized into a realization. The name on the headstone was Lisa Main. The impact of that name struck me. Lisa was a well-known figure in the local area. Our paths had crossed during our school years, and while we weren't close, I had harbored a deep infatuation for her. Reading the inscription, age 15, brought an unexpected wave of grief, unearthing emotions I had buried. At that moment, a flood of memories engulfed me, memories of her vivacious spirit and my unrequited feelings. Those emotions contrasted sharply with the reality of her being gone, lying beneath the earth's surface. A surge of discomfort, fueled by uncanny coincidence, took hold of me, contradicting my usual level-headed demeanor. Quickly leaving the graveyard, I headed home. avoiding the bustling streets of Edinburgh. The following days were marked by preoccupation, exacerbated by work-related stress and sleep deprivation. Thoughts of Lisa resurfaced, occupying my mind despite my efforts to push them away. Lisa's death, which had occurred more than a decade earlier when we were both 15, resurfaced in my consciousness. The graveyard encounter had reignited feelings I had suppressed, reminding me of the pain and longing I had carried. Memories of her laughter, her kindness, and the fleeting moments we shared flooded back, mingling with the painful reality of her untimely death. The emotions I experienced were a mix of beauty and anguish, a poignant reminder of the fleeting nature of life. Memories of her smile and the torment of her loss swirled within me, blending together in a maelstrom of emotions. My teenage dreams of connection, affection, and first love were forever intertwined with the tragic image of Lisa, lying lifeless. If I shared these feelings, others might have dismissed them as overly sentimental or emotional. My connection to Lisa was minimal by most standards, yet the depth of my feelings remained profound. We had rarely conversed, our interactions mostly confined to a shared awkward social dance and brief walks home. One memory stood out: the day Lisa asked me to walk her home. An unexpected gesture of kindness, and the bond we formed during those walks left an indelible mark on me. Each step we took together was a treasure, even though my teenage insecurities often hindered my ability to fully appreciate them. As February 13th approached, the anticipation of Valentine's Day grew. The prospect of giving Lisa a gift, a gesture fueled by my affection for her, consumed my thoughts. Determined, I set out to find the perfect Valentine's card, a task that proved more challenging than expected. Eventually, I settled on a red card featuring a couple walking hand in hand. Inside the card, my own words conveyed the depth of my feelings and the significance of our walks home. The card was accompanied by a box of chocolates, purchased with my meager allowance despite the sacrifices it required. With the gifts prepared, the morning of February 14th brought a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Clutching the card and chocolates, I navigated the school day with a sense of purpose, my heart set on delivering the gift to Lisa. However, when I arrived at school, Lisa was conspicuously absent from both the classrooms and the hallways. Uncertainty and worry gnawed at me. I learned from a teacher that Lisa had fallen ill with a fever and was expected to be absent for an extended period. The news left me determined to deliver the gift as soon as she returned. Days turned into weeks as Lisa's absence persisted. The initial worry transformed into a growing sense of unease. Rumors began to circulate, whispers of a serious illness that was keeping her bedridden. Concerned for her well-being, I visited the graveyard where her presence had stirred something in me. Standing before her headstone again, I wished for her swift recovery. As if by fate, her name seemed to echo in my mind whenever I visited the graveyard. Although I couldn't explain the connection, I found solace in being near her resting place. It was on one such visit that the unexpected happened. As I stood in silent contemplation, I felt a soft touch on my shoulder. Startled, I turned around, fully expecting to see another visitor. However, the space was empty except for a slight breeze that rustled the leaves of the nearby trees. Dismissively, I tried to attribute the sensation to the wind or my own imagination. Yet that feeling of touch, gentle and fleeting, lingered in my memory. Was it a mere trick of the mind, a manifestation of my longing for connection? Or was it something more? Something I couldn't explain within the boundaries of my skepticism. In the days that followed, Lisa returned to school, and her absence finally lifted. However, her once vibrant presence seemed diminished, as if the illness had taken a piece of her spirit. I was relieved to see her again, yet the shadow of her illness cast a pall over my emotions. Determined to deliver the Valentine's gift I had held onto for weeks, I approached Lisa after school one day. Nervously, I handed her the card and chocolates, my heart pounding in my chest. She smiled weakly, her gratitude evident, but her eyes held a distant sadness. As we spoke, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she wanted to share, something she was holding back. The memory of the graveyard and the inexplicable touch I had felt resurfaced in my mind. Was there more to the story than met the eye? Could there be a connection between her illness and the unusual experiences I had encountered? Despite my curiosity, I couldn't find the courage to ask, and our conversation remained focused on superficial topics. Eventually, we parted ways, and as the days turned into weeks, the distance between us seemed to grow. By the time spring arrived, the memory of that winter had faded. Lisa's illness had left its mark on her, but she continued to attend school, gradually regaining her energy and vivacity. We shared polite smiles in the hallway, but the unspoken connection we had briefly shared was buried beneath the weight of unaddressed questions. Years passed, and as I left Edinburgh to pursue my career elsewhere, the memories of that winter remained etched in my mind. The graveyard, Lisa's illness, and the inexplicable touch were fragments of a past that defied rational explanation. Looking back, I often wondered if my skepticism had prevented me from fully understanding the mysteries of that winter. While my rational mind struggled to find answers, my heart held on to the possibility that there are forces at play beyond our comprehension. Life has a way of weaving intricate threads, connecting us in ways we may never fully understand. As for Lisa and that winter, the memories persist, a reminder that even in the realm of the unknown, there is beauty to be found in the connections we make and the experiences that shape us. As we reach the end of this chilling tale, darkness envelops the screen, but the horrors still linger in our minds. If you dare to explore more bone-chilling stories and brave the depths of fear, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Remember to turn on notifications so you're always one step ahead in this harrowing journey. Thank you for watching, and may your nights be filled with terror.